Okay, so it's time to play again a little bit. I was trimming some scrappy blocks for a quilt, and when you do that, you usually end up with like a lot of really tiny trimmings here. And I sew a lot with my niece, and so we're sitting here looking at this, and I said to her, I said, you know, it's such a shame to throw this all out because it's quite a bit of fabric. And I'm wondering if there's anything I can do with this. And she says, no, yeah, that's a little bit too much. I mean, I think that you can save scraps, but this is a little bit too much. If I were you, I would just throw them out. And that's kind of a challenge then, because the words throw out don't sit very well with me. So I'm sitting here thinking, I have to be able to do something with this. So I'm gonna see. I've got an idea, and we're gonna see if this works. So this is what I'm thinking. I have a piece of another scrap of muslin, left over from something, I don't know, but it's even stained. And what I'm gonna do is, I have another little pile. I'm gonna kind of mix these. I'm gonna spread them out. Maybe not that. Spread them out on this piece of muslin. I'm going to put these darker ones down first to just kind of cover the space, and then with the more colored pieces, and I'm going to cover the whole surface of this scrap of muslin. Try to spread it out. Get all those bright colors. Try to spread it out as evenly as I can. So over here. And I'm trying to cover the white. And as evenly as I can, okay? I guess it's not a big deal if some of the white shows through, but I'm trying to cover the muslin. Okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover this with a piece of, well, here's a few more, of a stabilizer, a soluble stabilizer. Let's see. Get all these pieces tucked in there. I'm using the Super Solvi water soluble stabilizer. Yeah. And I will try to hold it. Let me see, is it better that way or this way? Which way does, oh, here it covers better. Okay. So I'm going to just hold kind of the layers, the corners at least, of the stabilizer. Maybe a couple here, so that these little strips don't fall out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this to my sewing machine. I'm going to quilt it like crazy. And I think I'm going to, because of it's such a colorful piece, I'm going to use more than one color thread. I'm going to try to use some of the colors that are in here, like the reds and yellows, and just free motion. I'm not going to use any particular pattern. I think I'm just going to meander and see what happens. So let's try that. Okay, so here we go. I've got my free motion quilting foot in, and I'm just going to meander. Okay, so I've finished covering the whole surface with red thread, and now I'm going to switch to another color. The other thing I did was I did kind of encase the edges so that I wouldn't have all these little strips falling out as I worked. And the other thing I should mention is that you might, since it is kind of thick, you might want to consider using a bigger needle. For a lot of sewing I use a 70-11 needle. And so I broke one here, so I've switched to an 80-12. You might even want to consider using a 90-14 needle, but in any case, a slightly bigger needle would probably be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to cover the surface. As I go along, I can see, little things that would be sticking out. So I just want to make sure that I've got all of these bits quilted down, and I think that the extra layer of thread makes it kind of an interesting thing. So I'm probably going to work with maybe another 2 or 3 different colored threads, and until I've covered the whole surface. Okay, so here's the finished piece. You can see kind of the different threads and a little bit of what it's going to look like. So from here on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to soak this for about 10 minutes in lukewarm water. I'll let the whole stabilizer dissolve, and then I will air dry it on a towel. So that's going to take a bit for it to finish drying, and once it's dry I'll come back and show you the finished piece. Okay, so I've washed out the soluble stabilizer, and this is what it looks like now that it's dry. I don't know about you, but I think this is pretty cool. So, what to use this for? I can think of several small projects. My favorite in using like any type of fabric collage is cases. I like to make these as gifts because they sew up really quick, and I guess I like the organic feel of fabric collage. It could be coasters. My favorite is pencil cases or little cosmetic cases. But I think that in a more muted palette, I could even use this as the background for a small applique wall hanging. I like the organic feel. So this is the backside too. I initially thought that I would probably want to line this if I use it for like a case, but I think that the back looks pretty cool too, so I think I'll leave it as it is. Lessons learned? Well, one of the things that this turned out to be pretty thick, and I think I was just so excited to try out this idea that I didn't take enough time to maybe spread out the little strips, the little trimmings a little bit thinner. I broke 2 needles in this process, so if I would suggest that if you're going to try this technique, that you try to spread out the little trimmings, the strips a little bit better than what I've done here, although I do like the effect, but I know that I could have probably done a better job spreading them out, so I ended up with a little bit a thinner layers because this is pretty thick. So that, and then definitely use a larger needle for this. And that's about it. I mean, this was a lot of fun. So I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.